Today we will talk on, in continuation with the yesterday's topic on Meninges. That is what is said to be as a episode 2, what we have talked regarding the Meninges in connection with the cerebral part. Rather, it is only that which covers the brain. Now we have to talk Meninges. That which covers the spinal cord. That is called the spinal meninges. Spinal meninges. To understand this, one must know this is what is said to be as a water that of the foramen magnum. This is the anterior arc. This one is the posterior arc of foramen magnum. This is the anterior arc of foramen magnum. Why one should know? Because here the water that of the endosteal layer of the meninges attached. The endosteal layer of meninges attached, it cannot run. But now this one is said to be as a vertebral column. This is a vertebral column. This vertebral column will be there right from the neck. This is the neck. Vertebral column will be there in the thorax. Vertebral column will be there in the lumbar. And vertebral column will be there in the sacrum. And even at the last, what we say as a focus. This is what the heart is. But now this is what the spinal cord now will be having. This is the spinal cord. Spinal cord. This is the spinal. This is the spinal cord. So, this one will come in oblong. Now, when you read about the water spinal meninges, so you will be having what is said to be as the spinal meninges also will be having the 3 parts. That is called the ligamentar, arachnoid matter, then the pia matter. Now we have to go to the water that of the, where you can say the dura matter of the water spinal. The dura matter of the spinal, for the purpose of explanation, it will be going to have what is said to be as the one layer, the one which will be running from the water foramina magnum dura matter, that to water inner means the dura matter of the spinal cord, it is the one which is running from the foraminum magnum downward all the way to reach to the water that of the second sacral vertebrae. Front and as well as the back part, and even to the what? Lateral side. Now this part of the dura matter is nothing but it is the inner layer of dura matter of the cerebral part. This one is even also called as meningeal layer of the dura matter of the water, that of the spinal part. So the dura matters, the one which will be covering the spinal cord, it starts from the water that of the foramina magnum. It is nothing but the inner layer or the meningeal layer of the water dura matter, the one which will be covering the cerebral part. From this, it will be descending downward in the vertebral canal up till the water that of the sacral too. But whereas the water that of the endosteal layer of the water cerebral part, endosteal layer of the cerebral part of dura matter, it will be arrested. At the foramina magnum, but this part which will be there will be the periosteal layer of the vertebral canal for spinal cord. So, endosteal layer of the cerebral part of the dura matter will be taking place by the periosteal layer of the vertebral canal. That is the meaning. Then this dura matter will be having a water that of the space this is called as the space between the periosteal layer of the vertebral canal and this river you can say boundary of the water, that of the vertebral canal, that one which is formed by the posterior surface of the body of the water, that of the vertebrae, cervical, thorax, sacral and so coccygis, lumbar, and the pedicles on either side, inner surface, and the beginning of superior articular process, inferior articular process and the transverse process, and the beginning of the water, that of the laminae. This is laterally. And posterolaterally it is related to the water, either you can say anteromedial surface of that of the, either you can say, or the inner surface of the water laminae. Posteriorly in the median plane, union of the water, that of the, you can say, laminates on either side when they come at the posterior median plane, that is, and the water spines. So this will be the thing periosteum. Now, so this space, what is you will be having? This space is called as the extradural space. But this will be different there, extradural space in the water, that of the, you can say, cranial part. Cranial part. It is the space between the water, that of the endosteal layer and the water part of a skull. That. Then you will be having what is said to be as now orange and this purple. So this space is called as the water, that of the dural space. So dural space is the space between the water periosteal and the water this of the, you can say, the continual part of the water meningeal layer of the water, that of the spinal part, that is the meningeal layer of the water, spinal meningeal layer of the dura, which is nothing but the continual part of the inner layer of that of the dura mater of the cerebral part of the, rather what we see as a cranial part, another name. So this space is called as a dural space. Now you will be going to get the water different. Now that is what is said to be as, even you can say, another we will be going to get. Now this one is the water arachnoid matter. But before going to the water arachnoid part of the water, that of the spinal meninges, now these you can say extradural spacer and the water, that of the dural spacer, contains CSF, CSEF, and the small amount of the water blood vessels you will be getting. Then you have to go to the water, that of this arachnoid matter. Now arachnoid matter is the one which is starting from the water, that of the, you can say, foramina magnum. It is the continued part of the water, that of the, you can say, arachnoid matter, the one which will be there in the cranial part. After covering the water, that of the, you can say, entire brain and suit, it will be leaving the water, that of the foramina magnum, and descending in the same pattern as that meningeal layer of the spinal part, which is continued part of the water meningeal layer of the dura mater, which covers entirely the brain in suit, and then descends in the same pattern. It will be descending and it will be reaching to the water, that of the, you can say, sacral vertebrae 2. It will be covering the body entire, you can say, spinal cord throughout its length and the diameter. This is the thing. Now This you can say white and this purple, what you have got, there will be a one space. Now this space is called as that of the, you can say, subdural spacer. Subdural spacer. Now the subdural space is the space the one which will be present in between the that of the, where you can say arachnoid matter. So this is what the arachnoid matter. Arachnoid matter of spinal, and the that of the, you can say, purple. The purple one is what is said to be as now already it will be there. Now here this, it has been talked here, it will be there mentioned. Spinal cord. Now this space is called as a subdural spacer. It also contains CSF, blood vessels, arteries and the veins. It will be there. It will be there throughout. Now you will be going to get the one more even you can say thing. Now that part is called as what is said to be as a diameter of the that of the spinal part, that is called the portion of the that of the, you can say, spinal meninges. Now this is much more thin, delicate compared to the that of the arachnoid matter of the spinal and the dura matter of the that of the spinal meninges. This is so much so transparent. It also covers the that of the blood vessels of the that of the spinal cord, that is the anterior spinal artery, posterior spinal arteries. It covers, and also the minute other vessels which are supplying to the that of the spinal cord. So this is the spinal cord. Now this will be the thing. Now this you can say diameter. It is the one which is continued part of the that of the diameter of the that of the cranial part of the that of the diameter of the that of the meninges. So this diameter of the that of the medulla, diameter of the that of the spinal meninges, or the diameter that which is related to the that of the spinal cord, known as the spinal pia, which is the continued part of diameter of the that of the cerebral part, or rather the cranial part. After you can say covering the entire, you can say brain in suit, it will be leaving the foramen magnum and continuing into the what is general as becoming the diameter related to the that of the spinal cord, that is called the spinal magnum. Or a diameter of the that of the spinal Now this here you can say pi matters. Now this will be there here. Now you will be going to have a one more space available. Now that space, the space between this white line and this one, this is called a subarachnoid space. Now this subarachnoid space contains what is said to be as the CSF and what blood vessels. Now this matter also it goes into the water, which covers the vessels related to the water, that of the spinal cord, and then it also enters into the water, that of the, you can say, central canal of the spinal cord. So this is known as a matter. Now this is the spinal matter, and this is called the subarachnoid space. Subarachnoid space contains the blood vessels. Now that blood vessels are covered by the matter of the spinal cord, and also it goes that matter into the that of the central canal of the spinal cord after covering the blood vessels. So totally how many spaces you will be going to have? So this is called as a one space, extradural space between the that of the periosteum and the boundaries of the vertebral canal. Then you will be going to have a dural space. Then you will be having the subarachnoid space, subdural space. Then you will be going to have subarachnoid space. So these are the four spaces. But now the most important thing, all these layers. Now if you take the that of the, where you can say, the meningeal layer of the dura mater, which will be there here. Once it will be going to run on either side of the spinal cord, you have got the spinal nerves. It encircles. It goes into the intervertebral foramen and continues as the epineureum of the spinal nerves. Then coming to the this arachnoid, it goes towards on either side, escapes through the that of the intervertebral foramina and continue as a perineureum of the spinal nerve. Whereas the matter in the same way it runs and continues as the endoneurium of the spinal nerves. But the question comes, this thing, you know what you have got this part. I mean to say this part. Periosteal layer of the vertebral canal, which can be taken as a replacement for the endosteal layer of the cranial part of the that of the dura, that is outer. It will be attaching to the circumference of intervertebral foramen. Circumference of intervertebral foramen. Then this one, periosteum. Endosteal layer of the that of the, you can say, dura matter, that is the outer layer of the that of the dura matter in the cranial part, that will be attaching to on either side as well as the beginning of this where you can say periosteal layer. It is attached to the what that of the where you can say intervertebral foramina, showing a teeth-like part. So those things which will be attaching to the what boundary of that of the where you can say cranium, where that endosteal layer attaching to the what boundary of the what that of the foramina magnum in the what bone occiput, and the what intervertebral foramina which will be present in the what vertebral column by means of this periosteal layer of the what the vertebral canal, which will be taking a name or which will be referred to as, or it is a replacement of in the cranial part of the water that of the layer of the water, outer layer of the dura, that is the endosteal attaching, that is called as the ligamentum denticulatum. Why it is called as the ligamentum denticulatum? Because the outer layer of the water that of the dura mater, that is the endosteal layer, attaching to the water that of the you can say foraminum magnum by means of the processes. So the medulla oblongata cannot go down further, it will be pulling. The structures are just like a teeth. Then the endosteal layer, as it continues attaching here, but it will be not descending further, it is attaches to the foramina magnum or rest there. Periosteal layer of the water that of the where you can say in the vertebral column, which will be replacement like. Not exactly, but it is a replacement. Periosteal layer of the vertebral canal, that is a replacement. Now this what is that? It will be attaching to the water that of the where you can say intervertebral foraminals, circumference. So when it will be attaching, it will be also producing a water that's like a teeth. Those are also called as a water ligamentum denticulatum. Why these things are there? Because the vertebral column which contains the water that of the spinal cord, it cannot straightway go down because of the gravity. So in order to prevent that, these you can say ligamentum denticulatum will be going to pull that spinal cord along with the what meninges, that is the spinal meninges, to held intact. The same thing, endosteal layer, it will be going to attach to the water margins so that brain cannot fall down. It should have a grip from below. So it should be there in the things. Apart from that, you have got the falx cerebelli, tentorial cerebelli, then shallow part of the dura mater or diaphragmatic cell and falx cerebri. These will be also going to help with that. So these are the things related to that. Now, after having had this, now what is the you can say histology of this? Histology of the what meninges. The dura mater contains the fibrous tissue and areolar tissues. Apart from that, it contains the blood vessels. Then coming to the water, this will be there for cranial part and the what spinal part combined. Histology. Arachnoid matter, it is containing only the what that of the little amount of the fibrous tissue and the areolar tissue more and the blood vessels. Biomatter for cerebral cranial part and the what spinal part, even for the arachnoid. Contains areolar tissue is more with increasing rich amount of the what endothelial cells and as well as the what blood vessels, very rich in this. contains. Then coming to the what? After this, now what is the blood supply? Blood supply for the what? This meninges is by the what? Meningeal arteries. Meningeal arteries. With respect to the what? Cranial means in the cerebral part, and spinal for spinal axis. Venous drainage, corresponding veins, meningeal veins, cranial, that is nothing but the cerebral, and what spinal veins. But there will be no lymphatic for this. The entire, you can say, when you deal now further in the neurology, there will be no lymphatic, but that is replaced by the CSF, remember. So this will be the thing. After having had this, what is the applied anatomy? Applied anatomy. Inflammation of the what? Meninges. Inflammation of the meninges is called as meningitis. This is the first. Second, all inflammatory signs are there but no pain. That is called as the second meningism. Meningism. Then you have got the what? Third, TB meningitis. Fourth, syphilitic meningitis. Syphilitic meningitis. Then you will be having other things you will be going to get into the view, but these are the important. Then you have got for all any diseases of the brain, you have to check for CS. You have to check for CS. So you can check the water that of the, you can say, CSF by means of putting the water that of the needles. Those are called as the lumbar needles into the water, subarachnoid space. Subarachnoid space. In the water spinal or exactly at the water that of the sub-occipital triangle, where you have got the water. Cerebellomedullary cisterns are get it, which are there in the water that of them, especially in the subarachnoid space. So in the subarachnoid space, you have got cisterns where it have got the availability of the water CSF, and then you can send that CSF for the what histopathological report in order to detect what type of a what microorganisms are there. Either TB producing bacteria or syphilitic producing or pneumococcal producing, or you have got a staphylococcal producing, or you have got some other, you can say any virus, fungus, cocci, viruses, they are there. To know that, you will be sending this CSF. So with this, the meninges are finished throughout its length. Thank you very much for listening a talk on meninges. Thank you.